Laura Loomer, thank you for being here on Town Hall Media.
Thanks for having me.
You are running for Congress in Florida. Tell me about it.
Yes, I'm running for Congress as a Republican in Florida's 21st Congressional District. It's home to President Trump and Mrs. Trump, their residents, so that means they'll be voting for me on Election Day. Very excited.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's Palm Beach, Florida. And I really was inspired to run for Congress after experiencing a lot of this vicious deplatforming. As you know, I'm the most banned censored woman in America. And I've been banned on every single social media site, literally, from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Uber, Lyft, Uber Eats. I'm not even allowed to order food delivery. PayPal, Venmo, GoFundMe, Periscope, Medium, even Chase Bank shut down my online access to my bank account simply for my political speech. And this is something that's happening to millions of people across our country. Not as severe. I mean, there are people who have been debanked as well, but every day we're seeing people get shut down or silenced or censored in some way or another for their political speech. And it's mostly conservatives who are supporting President Trump and expressing conservative values. And this has really exceeded just, the talking points of the surface level free speech discussion, right? It's no longer just a violation of free speech, it's a violation of people's civil rights. Because when you're denying people access to make a living by banning them on PayPal and trying to destroy their businesses and, shutting down their access to their bank account for their peaceful political speech, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Just create your own bank, right?
Right, you can't do that.
So
no.
the general conservative, anti-regulation, kind of anti-involvement perspective really just isn't matching the needs of our time, right? And just how severe
Definitely.
A lot of these violations by these tech tyrants in Silicon Valley are.
I've really missed you on Twitter.
Yeah,
I have. I mean, and a lot of people have been kicked off Twitter that I used to follow and are no longer there, and they cannot get back on.
Yeah.
So what's the answer, though? Is the answer regulation, or is it lawsuits like you are currently doing?
Well, my lawsuit is a lawsuit against Twitter and CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, for tortious interference, because not only did Twitter ban me, but they banned me at the request of an Islamic terrorist organization. So CARE, of course, is recognized overseas as being a terrorist organization. They were found during our nation's largest terror financing trial, the Holy Land Foundation terrorism trial, to have been supporting Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, terrorist organizations. And they actually requested that Twitter ban me, and Twitter obliged. So they had these secret meetings with terrorists who were like, we don't like Laura Loomer because we've endorsed Ilhan Omar. And of course I was, the lead journalist exposing Ilhan Omar and was the first to really confront her and expose her when people were saying, oh, it's a conspiracy. She didn't marry her brother, but now we know she really did marry her brother. And it's so funny. I wonder where Nancy Pelosi is. Where is this? I thought nobody was above the law. What's going on here, right?
What's going on? It's amazing. It doesn't seem like she's going to face any consequence for that.
Exactly. But anyway, I sued for tortious interference, but then I also sued Facebook for $3 billion for defamation, because when Facebook banned me, they didn't just ban me and say, oh, you posted hate speech, even though they didn't even give me an example of what it was that I posted that they banned me for. They literally designated me and several other high-profile conservatives as dangerous individuals, and they classified me as a terrorist. So if you looked at their terms of service, they changed it, and then they gave this embargoed press release to all the left-wing media outlets saying that, oh, Laura Loomer and Milo and Paul Joseph Watson and others are being banned, and they're dangerous individuals, they're digital terrorists. And then the day that I filed my $3 billion lawsuit against them, they changed their terms of service to say that it was okay for people to incite high-severity violence and post death threats against those who Facebook deemed dangerous.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
And of course the mainstream media isn't even talking about this.
At the same time, Facebook is also allowing these videos up of children beating one another and people committing violence.
They allow ISIS to have an account. A whistleblower from Facebook came forward and provided documentation that Facebook is actually auto-generating advertisements for ISIS. So apparently a Jewish conservative Trump supporter who is exposing anti-Semitism, and maybe people may not like my brash tactics of getting in people's faces, but it's not like I'm hurting anybody. I'm not violent. I'm just using my speech.
I personally loved it when you handcuffed yourself to Twitter's corporate headquarters. I thought that was a fantastic type of protest.
Thank you.
And I wish it had gotten more coverage, because really it's not very fair. They don't tell people why they ban them, and yet you can never get in contact with a real person, to find out.
And it's frivolous. They have these ridiculous terms of service, and they censor people, and now they're trying to create rules to even censor the President of the United States for hateful tweets.
Right.
And then I would love to know why are they not doing the same to the people who are calling for President Trump to be assassinated, or Louis Farrakhan when he says that Jews are termites and they should be exterminated. I mean, why does Antifa, why does Hamas, why does the Muslim Brotherhood, why do all these actual dangerous individuals and hateful people have access, but then they're trying to make it seem like hate speech exists? First of all, what we need to understand, and unfortunately the mainstream media has hijacked this narrative, there is no such thing as hate speech. There's no such thing as hate speech. It doesn't matter whether you're a member of the KKK, it doesn't matter if you're a white supremacist, it doesn't matter. As long as your speech is peaceful and
not
you're not inciting violence,
right?
and you're not inciting terrorist threats, all of these people have a right to free speech, even Nazis. All right, we've already gone over this.
Well, and that was what
understand.
America was founded on, the principle that the answer to speech you don't like is more speech, not less speech. Tell me how your campaign is going. What's your strategy going forward? How's it looking? Election day's coming.
Well, I'm the front runner in the race, so it was very exciting because when I filed to run for Congress on August 2nd. When I announced, people on the left and the right were making fun of me, and they said, "Oh, she's never going to win. She's never going to raise a dime. And there's no way in hell Laura Loomer could ever, recuperate from the way that they've defamed her, and she's never going to be in Congress." Well, it trended number one on Twitter within minutes of it being announced. My campaign doesn't even have access to Facebook and Twitter because they changed their terms of service the day after I filed to say that every single candidate besides Laura Loomer can have access to social media. And so we've retained Charlie Spees, who's a pretty high-profile, prominent FEC attorney, one of the best in the country. And he's actually filed an FEC complaint against Twitter for my campaign for election interference and illegal in-kind contributions to the Democrat Party and my opponents. So it's very exciting.
That seems like that might be a worthwhile thing to do.
Well, that's another thing is with my campaign, not only am I going to win, but we're also going to set legal precedent, right?
That's wonderful.
And one of the things that I'm really going to champion when I'm elected to Congress is how our election laws and, just these laws regarding campaign finance really need to be updated to address the monetary value of social media, because we had Sherman antitrust laws break up the communication firms, right? There are equal time, equal access rules when you're campaigning for candidates.
Yes, that's correct.
My Twitter account was getting 150 million impressions a month prior to me being banned. That's more than CNN. Okay, so I as an individual was more popular and more effective than CNN. I mean, that's not really hard to do in this day and age. It's really not that hard to do. So maybe it's not the best example. But
it's still a good one.
150 million impressions. I mean, there are radio stations that get 50,000 views, and even they have to abide by the equal time law. So how can they possibly say that not having access to Twitter is not a violation of these equal time, equal access laws?
When you win, they're going to have to give you your account back.
Well, we'll see. Because even Facebook gave a statement to the Gateway Pundit, and they were like, "Well, what's going to happen when Laura Loomer wins?" And they said, "Oh, well, if you've been previously banned, even if you win your election, we're not giving you an account."
Ridiculous.
So I guess I'll be the only elected official who doesn't have access to Facebook and Twitter. But it's okay, because you can follow me on Parler and Gab, and you can go to my campaign site, lauraloomerforcongress.com. And I'm really also trying to help, pioneer massive followings to alternative new social media sites that have been created. Sites like Parler, sites like Gab, where there's no free speech violations. You can say whatever you want. And it's great. It's going well. And I'm not going to let big tech determine whether or not I win my election, because it's the voters who decide who wins. It's not these communist, tech tyrants in Silicon Valley who are, all happen to be Democrat Party mega donors.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Laura, for coming. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.